Fine.
Yep, that is fine by me.
Perfect. Take it away.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how you can improve your net worth through taking measures. I would say, I would say each time you get your income, your check for your job payment. So if you get paid monthly, you want to check in. You have to have a what I refer to as a $1. You can go to the dollar store and get your own journal to track your net worth. So we're going to get into that because it's something that I think you can kick off for the first of the year and get your mind in place as to how you're going to increase your net worth. And we will learn how to calculate it as well. So, section one today is all about assets and asset building. So, let's learn about what an asset is. Next slide. So, assets can lead to wealth and financial security. Now, one of the things I want to share with you here is that wealth is what someone determines for themselves, right? For one person to be wealthy, let's say I might consider being wealthy as having $200,000 in the bank. Someone else may consider being wealthy as having $2 million in the bank. So it's really about your appetite, your needs, your goals. Okay. And the same goes true for your financial security. What makes me secure would be very different, probably, than what makes you secure. And that's perfectly fine. The key here today is for you to figure it out and for you to start using your journal, your financial journal, to plan because you're so young and you're so smart that if you start now, you'll be meeting your goals. 5, 10, 15 years will go by faster than you realize. So let's go to the next slide. So, what is an asset? It's something you own that has value. There are three types of assets: physical, financial, and productive. The physical asset would be something like, let's say, your grandfather left you his antique watch that was special back in the day when he was growing up. And over the years, it has now become a commodity, and people will pay quite a bit of money for it because it's an antique watch. And so it's worth something. So that could be a physical asset. Your financial asset, maybe your grandmother left you $10,000 when she passed away, or maybe you have $1,000 in the bank in a savings account. Those are your financial assets. Productive is a little tricky. So, the productive asset would be that asset that if you attain it, it helps you to grow money. For instance, let's say you got a fabulous job. Let's say you finished college or you finished a particular program you're in and you got this job, and the job is a little ways away from your home, but the car you have is falling apart. So you don't have enough money to buy a new car, I mean to pay for a new car, but you go out and get a loan. If you get a loan for that new car becomes a productive asset for you, right? So one might think, well, I got a loan for it. Well, yeah, you did, but it's going to help you get to that good job where you're making more money. So that's how you look at productive. If spending that or having that asset helps you reach another goal, that's productive. Similar to maybe taking money out to go to college, that's a productive asset, having that college education. So having that new car that you got with a loan is productive because it's going to help you get further. Now, we also have values. Oh, I wasn't done. Sorry, Juanita. We also have,
There you go.
that's okay. We also have a value determined based on the type of asset. And we'll talk a little bit about that more. So each of these has a value. Okay, next slide. So before we get into the benefits of asset building, does anybody have a question? Okay, so financial security is simply income and assets. Your income, as everybody knows, the money you make, and your assets are the things we talked about previously. Foundation for your financial future. You want to build assets because you're trying to create a financial future. And the foundation, you know, when you think about foundation, just think about standing on something. And this is what you want for your financial future. You want to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, being self sufficient financially. Benefits of asset building are essential to achieving long term financial stability and growing wealth. Although these terms, wealth, financial stability, uh, these things may to you feel like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Well, I want you to know that I wish that I were at the age that you are today and I had started doing this because I didn't start it till later in life. I was in my well into my 30s when I started really asset building. And I have to tell you that even though I started late, I still have a good foundation, which means you can have a better foundation. So let's go into how you can do this. Next slide. Owning assets. Owning assets creates a buffer to handle emergencies. We've had previous sessions where we've talked about the importance of having an emergency account, savings account. It gives you a buffer because what it does is it helps you not to have to touch your investments. So you have, if you have a $500 or $200 in a savings account and you need a car repair that's going to cost you $150, you don't have to go into an investment account and take money and lose money. You can just use your savings account to cover your emergency. And then that way your investments can continue to grow because what you're going to see over time is when you begin investing in things, those are things for the long haul. So they should be kind of left alone. Owning assets is going to help you reach your goals. There are different things you may want to do. You may want to purchase a home, right? Which would also become probably your biggest asset. It increases your options. There may be things that you want to do, maybe say take a vacation or what have you. It increases the options you have as to whether or not you can do those things. It helps you earn more income. Can anybody tell me why owning an asset could help you earn, or how owning an asset could help you earn more income? Anyone? Well,
Maybe, maybe
okay.
you'll seem more marketable for employers to hire you because you're financially stable.
Yes, that could be one. And also, but think about the money that you're earning when your money is in an investment tool, in a savings account with an interest, or a checking account with an interest, or a mutual fund, or a retirement account. You're growing money. So that asset is helping you. And a big one, as I mentioned earlier, Jonesy, is that owning a home. Most Americans have the greatest portion of their assets tied to their home because they've lived in it long enough for it to grow and increase in value. So that's what they're talking about. It helps you earn more income, meaning, income through investments and through your home and things like that. An asset inspires you to look to the future. It makes you feel better. You have something that's tangible, whether it's money or what have you, and it helps you feel like I'm now gaining a little traction. I'm learning a little more. I'm getting better. And it reduces stress. It reduces stress because you're not worried at night. You know you have your assets together, and you know if you need something, you have the money to take care of it. Let's go to the next slide. So remember, the key takeaway here is that assets can lead to wealth and financial security. So let's go into section 2. So the key takeaway in section 2 is net worth is a good measure of your financial stability. Some of you have participated in the classes where we've talked about saving, and taking care of your credit and all those things. Well, all of these things sort of come together when you start looking at your net worth. Your net worth is something you can easily measure. All you have to do is calculate your net worth by subtracting any debts or money that you owe to others from all those nice assets you have. Now, some of you might say, I don't have any assets. Sure, you do. You've got nice handbags, you've got shoes, coats, uh, furniture. Those are your assets. You may even have a car. Those are all your assets. If you have a checking account, you have an asset. If you have a savings account, you have an asset. These are your assets. Maybe you bought yourself a nice watch on sale at TJ Maxx. That's an asset. Maybe you've got a handbag and some nice boots. Those are all assets. Okay. Maybe you have wall art. Those are assets. Everybody good with what an asset is?
Yes.
All right. Let's go to the next slide. So you have assets. We know what they are. There's something you own that has value. Your liabilities, on the other hand, are the things that you owe, the money you owe to others. It's typically money. Some people may have other things, but more often than not, it's money. And liability is just another word, oftentimes, for debt. You are liable for paying someone back. You're a debtor, or you have debt. So you take all of your assets when you go back, because you're going to get this deck from Miss Juanita. You write down all your assets and just give them a value. If you don't know the value of your car, your used car, or whatever, you can find that online when you plug in the year of your car and the type of car that you have and the miles on the car. You will add up all of your assets, and then you want to subtract all of the credit card debt or school loan debt or whatever debt you have. Okay. And the balance left is your net worth. We refer to that as equity. That balance is equity. That's money for you. That's your money. That's your equity. And you can modify that through either increasing your savings or reducing your debt or doing both. So equity is something you want to focus on. Anybody have a question about equity? All right. So let's go to the next slide. So your net worth, it's a measure of your financial wealth. Remember, I told you earlier, don't worry about what your net worth is when you do the calculation. The key is to do the calculation so that you can plan for what you want your net worth to be. You're starting today, it's a new year. Maybe you've got new plans, maybe you're starting a new program. Maybe you have been working on your credit history. Maybe you have just got a new job. These are reasons that you should get a journal and start trying to measure your net worth. All right. So you're going to take the net worth as a measure of your financial wealth. That'll let you know where you stand. It equals assets, as I talked about earlier, minus your liabilities or debts. And it also equals equity from all of your assets added together. All right, let's go to the next slide. Value of net worth. So if you come out and let's say your net worth is $500, that's great. That's great. That's showing you have a positive net worth. You have a financial cushion of $500. But if you're like me, when I was your age, I had a negative net worth. I had things, but I owed more than what I had. So I didn't have any financial cushion and I had a negative net worth. Okay. There may be some that don't have any, just is not negative, but it's not positive. It's just zero. It's not likely you guys would have that, but it could be. So this particular slide is showing you how to calculate your net worth. You list all of your assets and total up that amount. So I talked about the furniture and the TV and the beautiful rug and the artwork and the things your grandma and your grandpa left you. All those things are your assets. Don't forget your car. And if you have something in the garage or if you have something in a storage unit, those things should be considered as well. Then you want to list all of the monies that you owe to others that you must pay back. And then you'll subtract those. And then the amount that you have after you calculate the total assets minus your total liabilities, you will know what your net worth is. That's the value of your net worth. Any questions? Okay, so let's go to slide 12. So what I want to know is, what do you think about net worth? Do you think this is something that you are interested in focusing on? Anybody I want to talk to you guys about this?
Yes.
Okay, who said yes?
John C. Williams, ma'am.
Good, good. I'm glad. Okay, good.
Yes, I agree as well.
Good, great. That's good to know. What about Louise? Mr. Luis Ernesto. Okay, maybe he's not with us right now. So on this.
Yes, I say yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir. You don't have any questions? You're good?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Good. All right. So this slide is giving us an example. The person's Justine's net worth. So her total assets show that she had a value of $141,000. Her total liabilities, however, were $119,000. And her net worth was $22,000 once she did the subtraction. Now you might be wondering, well, how does this person get up to $141,000 of assets? She probably owns a house. She probably owns a house. If she's a young woman, she may have just purchased a home. She may have put down $22,000 and the money she owes to her mortgage company could be the $119,000. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
Take
it
a
makes
look at
complete sense.
The balance.
Pardon?
Just a bit, yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's following me. All right. Amanda, you good?
Yes, I comprehend. I know how it is.
Okay, good. All right. Next slide. So changing your net worth. So this is one where you can do one thing or two things to change your net worth, right? So you can increase your assets, meaning you can go out. Let's say you get a bonus tomorrow from work, and that bonus is $500. You can take that $500, go buy a savings bond, or you can take the $500 and invest it into some Johnson & Johnson stock. You can take that $500 and put it into a savings account with a high interest rate. That's increasing your assets, any one of those actions, right? Because that's going to help as that money grows. It's going to help you increase your net worth. But you can also increase your net worth by paying off all those people that you owe loans to, which is what I had to do. Once I was able to pay off everybody that I owed, and I owed everybody, I increased my net worth tremendously, because what I was able to do is take all the money after I paid everybody off. I would take all of that money and apply it to some sort of investment vehicle, something like a checking account that had an interest rate, a mutual fund, a stock, or something. My retirement, I put a lot of it into my retirement account. And so the money just kept growing over the years. This is where I'm trying to get you to be, which is why I'm saying, get that journal if you don't have it, that financial journal, and start keeping track of your assets and liabilities today, because then when you get 10 years later, you'll see how it's going to just go up for you. Okay. So we want to talk about some specific ways that you can increase your net worth. So that's the next slide. So you can spend less than you make. So for anybody in this class that has ever had a class with me, I speak a lot about that. I think that is the number one reason that people who have money have it, is that they don't spend everything that they earn, and they live beneath their means, which is the second one. You buy less than you can afford. That's the same thing. These two together are living beneath your means, not within and not over, less than. So that's to say, when you go out to buy your home, if the realtor says, well, Miss Jonesy, you can afford to buy a home for, let's say, $100,000. You might say, no, I think I only want to pay $80,000. Now, I know for those of you who live in San Diego, the price of homes are really expensive, but I'm just giving you an example of how you live less than what you make. For instance, I make a pretty decent salary, but I don't drive a what do you call them? Like a classy car, like a Mercedes, because they cost a lot of money, but even once you pay for them, they're very expensive to maintain. And I drive a lot. And so I want a car that I can afford the maintenance and also the gas. That's where I drive Toyotas, because I drive a small Toyota. I don't pay much in gas. That's living beneath your means. Also, saving money is very important. Now, a lot of people think that saving a specific amount is more important, but I would say saving, getting into the habit of saving is more important. So you want to save money. You want to make sure you use an employer program. If you work for someone and they have a retirement program where you can invest in it, you want to do that because they pay managers to manage all of your investments and you don't have to think about them as much. And they're usually really good at it versus us. You want to use debt responsibly, meaning sparingly. You don't want to use it every time you see a nice fancy coat, or maybe somebody wants to use it to buy tickets to football season games that cost a lot of money. You want to use cash for that. You don't want to use debt really unless it's truly a big emergency and you just don't have enough for it and life, limb, or job or something important is at stake. Otherwise, stay away from the debt. If you already have debt, we talked about this before too, please begin paying down your debt. And you don't have to put a whole lot of money extra onto those debt payments. You just have to add some each time and be consistent. You will increase your credit score by doing that. And you will also see your debts begin to go down. You want to keep track of those debts because when you finish paying, you want to take all of that money that you were paying debts on and you want to start investing it so you can grow money from it. Explore public benefits. Each of you work with Miss Juanita. I'm sure she's talked to you about any benefits that the city of San Diego may offer for you guys. You want to claim your tax credits. You either work with a tax credit person, someone who knows how to do taxes or prepare tax preparer or an accountant, or learn how to do so on your own. Shop around, shop around. This is probably less for the gentlemen. I know that a lot of times ladies, we like to shop because we like to look nice and have, spend nice clothes on dresses and things, but we have to shop around. I'm a big proponent of TJ Maxx and stores like that where I can get things cheaper than I can at a high-end department store. And lastly, to increase your net worth, you want to build more assets. So every time you get a little extra money or something you didn't think about, maybe when the stimulus money comes, maybe you don't need all of it. It looks like they might be planning to issue $2,000 to everyone. Well, if you don't need it right away for an emergency and you're good, you may want to put that in a savings account for future emergencies. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So remember the key takeaway: net worth is a good measure of your financial stability. Calculate your net worth by subtracting your liabilities or debts from your assets. Next slide. Cars as assets. So we can go to the next slide. So the key takeaway here is that a car can be a productive asset when it helps you get other assets. Plan ahead to get a car you can afford with as little debt as possible. So can somebody give me an example of how a car can be a quote unquote productive asset?
Working, get to and from to work.
Yes, getting to and from to work. Yes.
Uber and Lyft and delivery services.
Yes, that's a wonderful one. Yes. Yes, use it for delivery services to make money. Yes, that's another way. Very good. All right. So you guys are sharp. So let's go to the next slide. So cars can be productive assets. Safe and reliable transportation is part of financial security. Doesn't say you have to buy the best car on the lot, but you need one that has, and you know, with the web today, you can always find out which cars, even if they're used cars, are still typically very reliable. Um, I happen to love Toyotas because they've served me well, but there are many out there, and you want to do your research before you go to purchase the car. Also, one of the things you can do is look for a used car, but I would encourage you to go to a used car major facility versus just somebody off the street you might not know. If it's somebody you know well and you know they take care of things, that's different. I've done that too. But somewhere like a CarMax, for example, where they're going to sell you a used car, but it has a warranty along with it. They're going to tell you all the things that they've done to take care of the car. And they'll, as I said, have a warranty in case something happens. You may increase your choice of jobs or access to medical services, education, childcare, or elder care if you have to take care of your mom or dad. So you might need that car. So the question is, and I want somebody to answer it, tell me what you think the answer is. Does owning a car always make you better off financially?
No.
Yes.
What? No.
Somebody said no and somebody said yes. And the answer is actually both, right? It depends.
I said yes.
It depends on what you're owning that car for, what you're trying to accomplish with that particular car. It's going to depend. So you have to think.
I don't know. When they ask you, do you have transportation? Like the transportation has gone down, like over here, like where you can't go in. You need transportation to get to your job in order to pay your bills. So of course you need a car. I mean, that's just my point of view of in life
That's
in
what I said.
general.
It depends, but you might be someone, but it could be somebody that lives in New York and they have a lot of debt and they're going to school and they got too much on their plate and they don't have to have a car. So they
Well,
may.
even if you buy like a bus pass or any kind, if you're walking on your feet, or if you even a bus pass today, I have 4 kids, and each bus pass costs around $96 per kid, plus
Mhm.
myself $136. So I'm just like, what gas alone, gas in itself is only around $100 a month, depending where I'm going to and from to work. So I don't know. I can't see myself rolling around with 4 kids and groceries and everything and trying to get back and forth to work. I'm
That's why I
sorry.
said I agree with
I
you,
th-
but I'm saying it's based on each
Mhm.
individual situation. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
based on each individual situation as to whether or not it's going to make you better off financially. You have to look at your own situation. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's based on that person's position at the time and what they're
Right.
trying.
And one of the reasons I said no is because I see financial counsel, I do the financial counseling, and then I'll see places where somebody is making $2,000 a month of income and their car payment is $800 or $900
Mm-hmm.
plus
And in
gas.
that case, they should not have it, right? They should,
Right.
or have
In a
Not
case like
somebody
that,
that
no.
usually has like a truck or a 27% interest rate or
Yes, yes,
really
right,
bad credit. Like that's terrible.
right,
No,
yes.
that's not
right,
That case, it wouldn't be good.
economic at all.
No,
right,
That's not smart.
no.
right. And that's why I was saying it depends. I always
I don't
caution.
even know how they got a loan for an $800 car payment and you only make $2,000. It's just not.
Right. I've seen some where they're actually making a $1,200 payment. And I was
Hey,
like, how?
these car companies are they are
Oh, I
sharks.
know. I used to work at a
They are
dealership. I
sharks.
know exactly. But you have to make 3 times the income of your rent. You have to make anywhere you go, you have to make 3 times the amount. So it's just like I'm just like appalled. Like somebody got approved for like a 1,200 payment, making I don't know.
But
It's
think
just
about it.
crazy.
But think about it. The car company, first of all, the first thing I learned from my dad when I was getting a car, honey, when you go get a car, you need to know that the car company is not so much making money off that car. They're making money off of the loan that they're going to give you to get the car. That's where they
Yeah.
make their.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, it's just my preference. Like for me, working in the dealership for so long. I mean, I worked in a dealership for like 5 years when I got fresh out of high school and everything. My thing is everybody should buy a brand new car because it's the net that you're paying for, and they can't hike it up. And then, but once you drive off the lot, it goes down in value. So, that's they always told me to buy brand new because you can't, if you go and used and then somebody, how they have these trade in your car. What they do is they make you want to trade in your car. They put the remaining balance that you owe on your car onto a new loan, so you end up more in debt. And then what they do for that car that they bought off of you for 2,000, they may sell it for 7,000, and then it goes to the house. So it's always better, I mean, in my opinion, to buy a brand new car because that's what it is on the sticker. You can't go up and you can't go like too much down. It's the
Well,
stock
I'm going
list.
to say, I'm going to tell you this, and you go look for it for yourself. There's, what is the book called? How to Become a Millionaire, The Secrets
Mhm.
of Millionaires. I have to give you the name of it. The people that have the most money in the country, the
Cheap.
majority of them buy you, and they're
Yeah.
rich. And I have to tell you, let me tell you, I have never bought a new car, and I have enough money to buy any car I want to buy in cash,
Uh-huh.
one
Wow.
or two or three, and a house in
Wow.
cash,
Hmm.
because I have leveraged. I listened to my dad. The first
Uh-huh.
car I bought, he got it used from a guy who worked with him. He was a Hispanic guy, and the man said, "I don't. I want a new car. I'm getting rid of this car. I banged it up a little bit, but otherwise it's good." My dad checked it out, and he made a few little minor repairs, and I drove that car for years. And then when I went to CarMax and got another used car, I drove it from 1988 to 2000. And all of that money went into stock in an account, and I earned money. So I encourage people to buy used cars, and also check out DaveRamsey.com. He is a multimillionaire, and he encourages us to do the same thing. So if you're rich, you have a lot of money, that's one thing. But if you're trying to
No,
get
I'm not
there,
rich. It's just I can't afford mechanical issues. Like I've had a lot of buckets in my life going to college and buying like little $500 cars. And then,
mhm.
but I was like, man, I was so tired of paying mechanics and transmission going out after them 100,000 miles. And I'm like, it's costly. So I was able in my lifetime to buy a brand new spanking car from the dealership. And before, when I used to buy those used cars, I used to pay at $333 for my
Mhm.
car payment before using those used cars and going through CarMax and stuff like that. But now I got a brand new car out the dealership, what I wanted, and I only pay $378 for brand new. And I don't have any kind of issues with it. I had it for 2 years, thank God, like no problems. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so good to just go and get an oil change and that's it. I don't got leaking radiators or I don't have the transmission going out. I don't like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I was like, so I don't know. I work very hard in my life. I work very, very hard. And so that's why I was just like, and the payment was only like a $30 difference for something brand new. I was like, oh, thank God. But yeah, that's just in my lifetime, in my opinion. I was just tired of them broken down cars. I was like, I was
Well,
broken down on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere one
but
time, and
that's
it was cold. So I
that's
said,
why I
never
was
again.
recommending. Well, maybe that's why I was recommending to others a place like a car. I forget the name of the place I was telling. I use them.
CarMax, you said.
Yeah, I've used CarMax for decades because they give a warranty, and also there are a lot of dealers I've had a Toyota dealer in my neighborhood. They gave a warranty too for a certified warranty for a used car up for so many years. And so, but when people ask me how did I amass wealth, I tell them that one of the most significant things was me buying used cars and knowing people who knew what to look for in a used car helped me, and that's where I saved a whole bunch of money. But check out those books and see what others say, because they'll probably tell you the
Yeah, I
same.
will. I will. I will. It's always good to educate my mind and stuff like that. I love about
Yeah, yeah.
the stocks and stuff. So that's good. I'll look into that book. Thank you.
Okay, thank
The other
you for
thing
telling me your secrets.
I wanted to reach out
Yeah,
and say,
right.
I have
There-
a question.
Sure.
sure.
I'm sorry, but I agree with Miss Juanita, and I said no because I'm just noticing with my boyfriend, he's paying like $900 for a car payment, and I think that's stupid. You could use that money. You could use that. That is almost $1,000, and for me, that is a lot of money. And then
I
not
agree.
on top of that, there's car insurance. You know,
Yep.
I don't have a
And
car.
maintenance.
And car insurance isn't that expensive too.
Mhm.
Like you're paying like $1,200, which is almost rent money
Yep.
for a car, and then
You have car
gas.
insurance, you have maintenance, and you have to look at your gas tank. I focus on my gas tank.
So one of the
Yeah.
things that I was gonna say to everyone is that I didn't have a car payment just like Miss Ivory for almost 15 years.
Yep.
And what I did was I would actually get a new car every 4 years, not new, but new used off, something that was returned with very few miles. But what I
Yep.
did was for the 5 years, I would be saving money. Every month, I would put away some money. And then when my income tax came in, I would take that money. And with the income tax return and the money I saved and the car that I had to turn in, I would get another car for 5 years. And then I would go again for another 5 years like that.
That was smart. Yep.
It's just
I
a different
agree.
way to do it without having to pay all that interest and without having to worry about a car payment every month, because that takes away from your monthly income,
Absolutely.
which is what Miss Ivory is saying.
Yes, yes. Your two big expenses usually are your housing expense and your car.
So it's better if I was thinking about getting a car, like. So how much is car insurance? Isn't that expensive, or it depends on?
It depends on your
Depends
age
on your
and your
driving
driving
record.
record. Mhm.
Oh, and then they have to go to the DMV every year and pay for that too, right? Like,
No, you don't have to pay anything for the car.
Oh, you're
every-
talking about registration.
Yeah, that's a
Registration, you have to
one-time
pay.
fee, one time.
oh, well, I guess it just depends on people's situations,
Yeah.
Because if I
Agreed.
had kids, of course I would need a car. But since I don't have any living with me, it's kind of like I don't need a car. Like I depend on him, but I just see how broke he is, and I'm like, well, why? Like, why are you paying like $1,500 a month for a car that you can't afford? But with that, does it increase once you get a car? Like,
Soon
let's
as you
say if
drive
you
it off the
buy.
lot, the value goes down. After you purchase a new car, as soon as you drive a brand new car off the lot, the value goes down.
So if you buy a $50,000 car, does that mean that you have $50,000 in assets?
No, because as soon as you
Oh.
drive that car
No.
off the lot, the price of the car, the value of the car goes down. That's a guarantee.
Oh, so cars aren't the same as house. That's not equity. And
Cars
I'm
are
so sorry.
terrible.
Yeah, you can have a car have a value. I'm just saying that it's not likely to go up. That's all. Like a house is likely to.
So a house is better than getting a car. You should get a
Well,
house.
again, it depends. It depends because you might need a car in order to get to back and forth from work to the house. So so it depends. But you want to think it through, talk it over, Look at the
Mhm.
upside and the downside. Okay.
So one of the reasons for this workshop is for you to start thinking about all those questions that you're having right now, John C.
And
And
I
just
love
thinking
it.
about, what do I want to do in the next 3 years? What do I want to do in the next 5 years? And then start planning for that and start looking at your finances. Where are you with your debt? Where are you with your liability? And how do you start building that asset? That's what we're talking about today.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
And
Thank
all
you.
of you are on the right track. I want you to know that. Everybody that's spoken, I can tell you're all on the right track. We just, Miss Juanita and I, giving you ideas and things to think about. So just keep that in mind. All right. Next slide. How much car can you afford? So again, that differs based on who you are. There's no precise formula. Now in the housing space, and Ms. Juanita, you correct me if I'm wrong because you're closer to this than I am, but usually I think we say no more than 30% of your income, your gross income should go towards housing. Is that right?
That's about right. We try to keep it within that framework. I know
Okay.
some people say that all of your needs should not be more than 50%.
Right.
Needs includes rent, food, utilities, all of that nice stuff.
Right. So how much car you can afford depends on your particular financial situation. So there's no precise formula. Guidelines and questions can help. We gave you some ideas right here. Start with your spending and savings plan. Remember, a while back, you guys were to create spending and savings plan. You're supposed to already have a financial journal that you're working through and working towards in terms of your goals. And remember, as one of the folks just pointed out, I don't know if it was John C. or Amanda, that remember to include costs for insurance. It's not just your car note, it's your insurance, it's the maintenance and repairs, it's the gas, and the title and registration fees that you pay up front. Okay? So keep those things in mind. Next slide. Tips for getting a car loan: review your credit reports in advance at annualcreditreport.com. The next one is get pre-approved for a loan. I am a stickler for that. If you're going to get a loan, whatever you do, I would not encourage you to get it with that dealer. If you have a relationship with a credit union or a bank, typically you're going to find their interest rates are lower. That is another way to save money. Again, shop around. We talked about different places you can go to. I have had success with CarMax, but I'm not telling you guys you would have success. But over the past 20 to 30 years, I've had a lot of success with them. Keep good records on your loan quotes so you can compare them to different dealers. There's a lot of information online now that allows you to do those comparisons, and I have found them to be very, very helpful. Leave the car at a dealership until the loan is final. So some people want to drive the car around and test the wheels for a few days. That is not wise, because if you have an accident or something, then you've got a problem and you have a car that wasn't yours. So you don't probably have insurance on it. So you want to be careful. Any questions? Okay, next slide. Remember the key takeaway from section 3. A car can be a productive asset when it helps you get other assets. What other assets are we talking about? Money, cha-ching. Plan ahead to get a car you can afford with as little debt as possible. Preferably none, but as little as possible. And then over time, you will have the money to pay cash for whatever you want or to negotiate a good deal. Next slide. Training and education as assets. Let's go to the next slide. So remember we talked a little bit about productive things. Training and education can be a productive asset when they give you a strong chance of securing a better career or a higher paying job. Plan ahead to pay for them with as little debt as possible. And I'm going to tell you that it depends again as to what field you're in, what the requirements are. When I went into the federal government as a young woman, I had just a bachelor's degree and I moved up pretty easily. But then I got to a point where I said, in order for me to become and go into management, I probably needed to get a master's degree. And I am so grateful that at that point in time, I began to think about whether or not I began to look at how much money it cost me to get a master's degree and where I was. And so I hedged my bet and said, I think I can keep going without this master's degree. And I turned out it worked out for me. I paid off my student loan debt from my bachelor's, and that took me as far as it took me a nice ways, right? So you have to make that decision in your mind about whether or not spending that money is going to be productive for you in your particular field. So there are certain fields where you have to have a master's degree, and if that's one you want to go in, then certainly you get that degree. But I'm not going to say everybody needs to have a master's degree because that's not so. Miss Juanita may have her own viewpoints. Miss Juanita, you have any viewpoints on that?
I'm with you on that. It depends on what field you're in, and it depends on your experience.
Yes.
Sometimes life experience and your historical skills have a lot more to do with anything else. I know people that make a lot of money and with no master's degree and no bachelor's degree, even more with
Right.
certifications. It all depends on what you like. The job has to be a career, and it has to be something you like. And if you like it, you're going to do it well, and you're going to get paid well for it.
Absolutely right, because many of us all have innate experiences and innate skill sets that we're just good at. So yes, she and I are on the same page. So be careful about that, because a lot of people just think if I go out here and get some more student loans and get a job, I'll have all this money, and that's not necessarily so. I have a cousin today who she has a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD, but she can't keep a job, and she's in a specific field. She's really good at what she does, but she's not good at maintaining good relationships with her managers and leaders on the job. And so she never has any money, but she's got all these degrees. So Miss Juanita was right, and she can help you plan when you start talking about whether or not you should invest in that advanced degree. Plan ahead to pay for the expenses, because of course school is really, really expensive these days. So think about that.
You don't show your face?
Any questions?
Yeah, and then I just wanted to add something. Like usually when you need your extra, that college or whatever, your employer sometimes is willing to help you pay. Like there's they have, because I know I had to go back to school for my employer. They needed the associate, and I was like, what the heck? It's 2 years. I can't afford it. I'm gonna go into more debt. But I was blessed, and they helped me pay a majority portion of it. So
That's a
so
very
I
good,
could further my education.
that's a very good advice. And also, I'm glad you mentioned that in the United States federal government, they have a program where if you come in and you work so many years and you have a degree, or you have student loan debt, they will offset that for you. They'll pay so much for you because they want you to come into the government. So keep that in mind. Very good. Thank you. Next slide.
Yeah, and there's a lot of scholarships too that people qualify for. Like I'm applying right now,
Mhm.
and there's just I don't know if it's because of COVID, but there are just millions of scholarship money. There's a lot of
Very
money.
good.
Yes.
Well, thank you for
And
sharing.
Kimberly Harris has a question. You can go ahead and ask it, Kimberly.
Okay, I can't hear.
Can't hear you. You can also put it on the chat, and then I'll ask it for you.
Okay. Training and education can be a productive asset. We just talked about those. They can potentially lead to higher wages. Maybe so, maybe not. We had the good discussion. They can be an important part of asset building strategy, smart investment towards meeting your goals. As the young lady said on the job, I think it was Amanda. And then there are many paths to higher pay and great careers. So you have to figure out which ones are for you. So types of educational experiences and institutions. So this one was a big one for me, on the job training. I learned through touching things and doing things and watching people. And I had the good fortune of having some really smart managers that would take me around with them and that would teach me things. And that really helped me cement my growth in the agency. Apprenticeships are good. Vocational and career and technical schools are good, especially right now if you're into technology. Everybody's looking for support in that space, and we know that this is becoming more and more the wave of the future. Community colleges are wonderful. If you want a bachelor's degree, a lot of times people, back when I was growing up, everybody wanted to go to the big name schools. But now, when you look in the workplace, we're all in there together. And the name of the school you went to doesn't really matter. Again, like Miss Juanita and I mentioned, if it's for a specific program or a specific job, maybe, but things are different today. 4-year college, maybe, maybe not. Maybe you want to go into some sort of apprentice program that gives you a certificate and you can get a job as soon as you walk out with the certificate, saving you some money. The military is another good place. We're always in need of good folks who will serve in the military, who are smart and who are willing to help us protect the United States. My husband served in for 6 years and then he got out, but he had a chance to go to school and those kinds of things on the military and get a home and things with military. So just keep those in mind. And of course, you have the Job Corps, AmeriCorps, and the Peace Corps. Um, I don't know the program, but I had a cousin that he went to college and he got his school all paid because he was becoming a doctor. And he went through the United States, um, what's the department? Department of Education. And he got a United States federal loan. And when he came out of school, out of medical school, after he graduated, he had to commit to a year or two working in any place they put him around the country. And so they put him in a little backwoods, old, small place in like Georgia where they didn't have many doctors. And that's where he worked. And that's how he got his schooling paid off. So there are different things available for us today. But that
Yeah,
was an ask.
especially, oh, sorry. Oh, I said, especially right now, due to the COVID and stuff like that, there's always looking for a lot of people in the medical field, and they're willing to pay pay for you to have your career and your degree and stuff like that, and almost to little of nothing because we're so short on the medical field. It's very short. So if you're looking to change your career or go to a different career path and you don't
Now's
really
the
want to
time.
pay that much for school, right now is the time to
Mhm.
do that change.
That's very
That's
smart.
what
and
I'm doing.
thank
I'm
you.
transitioning to something else because they're giving out the school almost free, and you can make payments and everything like that. So I'm transitioning into like I'm going into the medical field versus instead of being
Yes,
in the other part. So I'm, you know what I mean? Because everybody, everywhere you
me
go, it's so
too.
like the jobs are just like everywhere. Even if you were to move out of state or something, they're always a need for the medical field everywhere you go. So that's like a good
Yep.
another option as well. So sorry to cut you out. Sorry.
No, that was great. I think I love the information and you're very smart to do that. And I agree. And I really thank you for sharing that with the class because all of us recognize if we're paying attention to the news that there's a dearth of medical folks, whether they be nurses, doctors, what have you. So yes, thank you so much for sharing that. That'll give all of us something to think about.
Yes,
Next,
I'm doing the same thing too. This
are
is
you
Johnsy.
good?
I'm going into healthcare, and
Very good.
they're giving out scholarships right and left. So it's basically like a free education
Yes,
if you
indeed.
qualify for it. So it just depends on what you're going into because schools have to make money right now since everybody's out of school. So they're just
Absolutely.
looking for people to go back to school. But some
Very
people,
good.
if they already have the education, like myself, it's like,
Mhm.
why am I going to do it again? But it's like, people are going through hard times right now. And even if you do have that bachelor's degree, it's like, you have to do something,
Right. Well,
you
what you're
know?
doing is pivoting based on what's happening in the marketplace. You're pivoting, which is smart. This is also talking about pursuing education and training. You may need to invest your own resources, such as time and money. You may need student loans. And you got to figure out the opportunity cost. The time spent in school may be time not spent earning money. So you have to think through it. So this young lady says, where can I find these scholarships? And could you all put in what something on the chat room so she will know that?
Yeah, you just have to ask your school because I think financial aid should be able to provide the the information. But I think on FAFSA.com they have a whole bunch of scholarships. But it's really your financial aid officer that you have to talk to.
Okay, thank you. I
Yeah, and
want
then
Yeah.
also too, your when you apply for your FAFSA money and everything like that, if you are receiving like CalWorks or CalFresh or any kind of low income thing, they do not mess with your FAFSA money because you know it's their money for your schools and your books and education. And it also too, if you get a job within the school while you're going to school, they don't take your money because it's part of the school. So if you're like doing the transition and you're not making it, don't think when you go to school are you receiving FAFSA or anything like that. They don't take it. They still help you out because that all the FAFSA money is for your books and your, you know, if you have need tires to get to and from cars, like they help you out with everything. It's that's how I got through my schooling too. It's like I had like before when I had my broken down car, I needed tires to get, and they paid my tires. They helped me with gas. I was really blessed. And like, you know, your county worker too will help you out with that as well. If you have a county worker, you go in the county when they give you the FAFSA, they encourage you to go to school as well, and they pay for your vocational as well. So my suggestion would go to your local county and see what they have available.
good for you. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Let's go to the next slide. Very good information from you guys. So training or education is not always a smart investment. I gave you my example where it didn't work, you know, wasn't the best investment for me. And so by the time I paid off my bachelor student loans, I was fine. I was out of debt and that helped. It depends on the school, training program, record of job placement, costs, and related items. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue training or education. It's just saying you need to make an informed choice. Think it through. Let's go to the next slide. Ways to pay for college. You can ask for help from friends and family. You can save money now or used money that you have saved already. You can work while attending school. You can apply for scholarships and grants. A number of you have mentioned that. I did the same thing. You can ask for help from your employer. We talked a little bit about that. You can borrow money using student loans. I did that, but know that most people who borrow money using student loans, particularly that bachelor's degree, it usually takes about 10 years for us to pay it back. And you can make any combination of the above to pay for your education. Next slide. So scholarships we talked about, they're usually merit-based and awarded to students with certain qualities or such as academic or athletic ability. They usually are competitive because they are scholarships. They're money given to you. Grants, most are need-based. I got grants because my mom made less than the income required. And so I was able to get a few grants when I went to college, but they're usually based on financial situation, and they may be competitive as well. Next slide. Saving money for training or education. The 529 plans are there to help adults save money for future education costs for their children. The rules will vary by state, but those are good plans for those of you who may have young children and you know you're going to be staying in the state for a while. You might want to open up or invest in a education plan for your child. The ABLE accounts, which are the 529A plans, those are for individuals of any age with a significant disability that began before their 26th birthday, and they can use those funds for education. Next slide. Student loans, we have federal and private. I encourage you to stay away from the private. The federal government is a little more lenient when you need to have a break in your payment, or you need what is referred to as a deferment. And that's, I can't pay that loan for August, but I'll catch up come October and I'll pay August, September, and then I'll meet my October payment. Federal government is usually a little kinder in that space than private loans. You don't have to borrow the maximum amount offered to you. You borrow what you need. And you should know that the total student debt you want it to be less than your starting annual salary. So my total student debt was 15 grand, and I was making about 15,000 or maybe $400. I barely made it over, but it was worth every penny, that money that I used for school. Next slide. Federal student loans are offered by the federal government. Please know, if you get a federal loan, they're going to follow you until the day you die. You will pay the federal government back either through the IRS or something, but they're going to get their money.
Your taxes.
Right.
They take out of your taxes. You think you're gonna get that check deposited, and then you only got $100. You're like, where's my 1,000?
Yes, they're gonna get their money. But anytime you have any federal loan, whether it's a housing loan or anything, they will get their money back. Usually, you're gonna have a lower interest rate on the federal student loan, and they offer better repayment terms, and the benefits and options are better than private student loans. Generally, repayment starts after you leave school, which was very, very helpful to me. And like I said, they do have opportunities for you. If you get in jam and you need a deferment, they'll usually work with you. But under no certain terms are you going to get away from paying them back. Next slide. You have free applications for FAFSA, which is the Federal Student Aid. You want to complete that form so that you can be considered for a federal loan, work study, and grants. I loved work study. That's how I got into art. Back in the 80s, I did some work study at the library for our school. Drove me crazy because I thought it was boring as all get out. But I was so bored, I started picking up and reading some of the books. And then I found there were different artists that I actually liked. And that's where I started getting into art, and I have art in the house. So Consider work study. It might open a horizon for you. Also grants. Use www.fafsa.gov, or you can do it online or your mobile app. Check deadlines and apply early because there are a lot of competition, a lot of people competing. Carefully review that student aid report and respond immediately to legitimate requests for information. And this is one of those things, this last one, that tripped me up. I didn't pay enough attention. And when I got to school, I had to do something that slowed down me getting my aid right away because I had missed one of the requests for information. So just be careful and pay close attention. Next slide. Paying back student loans. We've already talked about, paying them back on time. Federal student loans are not automatically discharged by bankruptcy. I've had many people trying to get a home loan call me and say, I don't know what's going on, Ms. Himes. And I say, did you ever have a federal student loan? And they say, oh yeah. And I say, well, check, because that's probably it. Non-payment can possibly result in referral to debt collection agencies, drop in your credit scores, and garnishing of your wages. That's taking your money, as the young lady mentioned earlier. Before getting a student loan, understand its terms and your options for repayment. Next slide. Contact your loan servicer. You may be able to restructure your payments to be more affordable. For more information, there are options at studentaid.gov. So you want to visit that site. Next slide. So remember our key takeaway today. Training, this is for section 4, training and education can be productive assets when they give you a strong chance of securing a better career or a higher paying job. Otherwise, probably not your best interest to invest your money in. Plan ahead to pay for them with as little debt as possible. Next slide. So there were 8 things on the chat, and Miss Juanita, I just want to make sure that everybody's questions got answered.
Yes, I did answer all the ones that were being asked
Okay.
regarding education, medical. I had sent out some scholarship information yesterday, so they should have that. Everything else we've discussed and talked about. I do apologize. I do have an appointment at 12. I'm really, really late to it. So I'm going to go ahead and have to exit us out of this workshop today.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry, folks.
No
Talk to
problem.
you
Bye, Miss
soon.
Juanita. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Miss
you,
everybody.
Juanita. Thank you
Take care,
so
Miss
much.
Juanita. Be careful. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.